So I had a couple questions on how I render wax down, and it's really a two-part process. The first step is I take this wax melter here. It's got a water jacketed bottom here, where you can melt the bottom. It doesn't come all the way up. This is just thin on the side, but the whole bottom of the tank's water jacketed. And it's got the drain there. And I just let it drain into a 5-gallon bucket like that. It's not the fastest melting thing in the world, but you really don't have to mess with it. And I can put probably half a drum or so of cappings in the top of this. And you can see where it runs down into the bucket there. And just let it drain into the bucket. And once the bucket hardens, I just kind of dump it outside and let the bees clean off any honey. What you get left when it's done is you get what we call this slum. With a little bit of wax left, and this is just all the crud from the wax that that obviously wasn't wax in the comb. It's old cocoons, bits of bees, and all that fun stuff. And the wax kind of melts through that little screen that you can see there. And that's the first step of the process, and that's just to get the bulk of the crud out of the wax. What you get left with, this is a small piece, but you get left with a block of wax about like that. I let it obviously get the height of a 5-gallon bucket, not just an inch or two, but it's about that big around. You can see it's relatively clean. On the bottom side is where you get just a little bit of gunk, but any honey and the larger bits of wax, get scraped off of it there. And so that'll be part one. Then I'll take this, and I've got a Maxent wax melter. I'll throw it in, and I'll show you guys that when I get to my other building where the tank's at. So for the second step of the wax melting, I put the blocks that I made from the Kelly melter into this Maxent melter. It's not on right now, but you fill the bottom up with water. Then when all the wax melts, you use this valve here to drain the wax level down so that if the wax level is below this, that gets a lot of the debris below it. But in my experience, it's never really perfect. So you'll have water, up till just slightly below this valve, and then wax the rest of the way up. And then what I do is I take just a regular strainer here, and I will take some of this flour sack towels. This is the stuff right here that I strain it through. It's just like a thin cloth, and I'll lay that on top of the strainer. And this is a used one. You can see how much stuff that gets out, how cruddy it is and how dirty it is, but I'll just strain right into that. I got an old golf ball bucket. That strainer fits perfectly on there, so I'll just hold it under here while I pour it. It'll strain through there and fill this golf ball bucket up, or whatever container you want to use to hold the clean wax. Then I'll pour it into these molds. Use some little Tupperware molds. It comes out pretty clean. If you dump it over, it'll pop right out, and you get a nice clean block of wax the whole way around, nice and filtered. But that's the wax melting process. Like I said, it's kind of two-part. You kind of render the cappings down into a relatively clean, solid block. Then you run it through here and filter it through this flour sackcloth, and dump it in your molds. And then you get some, like I said, some real nice debris-free wax after that. And that's my process.